Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to episode 2 of the Minecraft Survival Guide. How are you guys doing? I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Today we're going to continue our Minecraft Survival Let's Play adventure together, and as you can see, some more trees have grown in the night. Fantastic stuff. I am going to start off today by acquiring a source of food, if we can, because I'm about to eat my last cooked pork chop, and I've only got one apple and a bit of rotten flesh left to eat. And the rotten flesh doesn't sound particularly appetizing. You can eat it in a pinch, but it is a little bit dangerous to do so, which I might explain later. And we've only got one apple left, which probably isn't going to cut the mustard. So we're going to start off by chopping down a couple of trees, because now we've got the energy, we may as well. Our hunger isn't depleting quite yet. And we do need this wood for a couple of things we're going to do today in terms of making tools. But there are two very important things we need to do. The first of which, as I've already explained, is starting to put together a source of food. And the second comes from that sheep over there. We're going to make ourselves a bed. Because just as important as having a source of food is having a place to sleep. Especially now that we've updated to Minecraft 1.13. Minecraft 1.13 has introduced a new type of monster into the game called a phantom, and phantoms will appear in the night sky once you have not slept for a couple of days. So if you decide to stay up past your bedtime, if you don't sleep in a bed for a few days, they will swoop down from the night, and they are dangerous. They can move pretty quickly, they can do a lot of damage, and if you're not prepared for them, they can take you out pretty quickly. So what we need is a bed, and for a bed, we need some wool. You need 3 wool and 3 wood planks to make a bed, and of course, you get wool from sheep. Now, normally if you just kill a sheep like so, it'll drop 1 wool and maybe 1 or 2 mutton as well. So that kind of sorts out our source of food temporarily. But the best thing to do with sheep, now that we've got a little bit of iron from our mining trip in the last episode, is to make a pair of shears using 2 iron ingots like so in a 2x2 or a 3x3 interface. And what you do with shears is you walk up to a sheep, right click on it, and they drop between 1 and 3 wool, and it doesn't kill the sheep. So that can be very useful for farming wool long term. And a lot of stuff in Minecraft is actually better if you can have it in a renewable way. So if you can just keep acquiring the wool over and over again from the same sheep, then you never have to go around looking for more sheep ever again. You can also breed sheep, which we will get to later, if you want to increase the flock that you have. But as you can see right now, the sheep is looking a little bit naked until it eats grass, and then the wool grows back instantly and it can be sheared again. So in that way, you can have a renewable source of wool right on your doorstep, and if you don't find sheep right at the beginning of your world, it's kind of important that you go and find them pretty quickly. Either that, or get used to spending most of your nights indoors where the phantoms won't be able to swoop out of the sky and get you. But we've started off with 7 wool, which is fantastic. We only needed 3 to make a bed, so I'm going to head back to my crafting table and we'll make one of those, and that will allow us to survive the nights a little bit easier. The thing about beds in Minecraft is that they have a couple of things aside from making sure phantoms don't attack you. We're going to pop down a bed in here. In fact, Let me get some dye, and let's dye our bed a red color, because we may as well introduce dyes at this point in the tutorial series as well. Flowers all around you can be placed in your crafting inventory to make dye, like so. This is rose red, despite the fact that this is a poppy. Don't ask me why. Poppies in Minecraft used to be roses. RIP roses, they are now poppies, but they still make red dye, which means if you put it in your inventory with the bed, you can dye the bed sheets red. And all beds in Minecraft used to be red until the introduction of multicolored beds in the previous update. Now, let's pop this back inside, and beds have 2 very important uses. One, they allow you to set a spawn point, which you can't do unless you can sleep in it, and you can only sleep at night, or as it says on the screen, during thunderstorms. But the spawn point setting is very useful because normally we would spawn around here because this is where we originally spawned into the world if we died. But if you decide to move further afield than your spawn point, if you decide to go and set up a base somewhere else in the world, then you don't want to respawn back at your original spawn point if you die. You want to be able to spawn at your base where all of your resources are. So having a bed allows you to set a spawn point, and that will let you return to that point anytime you die. The other thing about beds is they allow you to skip the night. So once the sun gets low enough, we will be able to sleep in this bed. We can sleep just for a couple of seconds, and then the daylight cycle will reset to the dawn starting over there, and we'll be able to skip the night entirely, which means no monsters come out, which means it's a lot safer to walk out of your front door first thing in the morning and start your new day in Minecraft. And you'll find a lot of people end up skipping the night just so they don't have to deal with the inconvenience of monsters being around while they're doing a bunch of building. So now we've got the bed set up, we can think about that source of food that I mentioned, and we're probably going to start off here by growing some wheat. Wheat is a very basic thing in Minecraft. All you need to do to find wheat seeds is punch a little bit of grass, and as you can see, we've already got some in our inventory. We picked some up during the course of this episode, and we also had some in our inventory from last time because I was clearing out all of the grass over here to make room for our house. So we're going to grab as many wheat seeds as we can, as many wheat seeds as we dare to from this little area around here, and it's obviously going to make the place look a little bit less picturesque. It's going to make it look a little bit more flat because there's not so much grass growing around, so maybe we'll leave a few pieces of grass here and there, but if we want to end up building some more stuff on this terrain, it's kind of nice to clear it out a little bit anyway. So now we've got maybe 15 or so. I reckon we can aim for about 15 or 16 wheat seeds. There we go. 15 seems like a good number. There we go. We've got 16. Fantastic. Now, we need an area in which to plant these. And for a start, crops need farmland. And they need that farmland to be near a source of water so the farmland can be irrigated or hydrated. So we need to make a tool that will allow us to turn the grass around here into farmland, and we need to make it over here by the water so that the farmland can be hydrated. Now, if you make yourself a bucket out of 3 iron, you can actually move the water sources around so that you can put them in different places and you don't have to make a farm right next to water. But we're going to worry about that in just a second. As you can see, the sun is setting. I'm going to close my door just for a bit of comfort, a bit of privacy. And once the sun reaches a certain level, we will be able to sleep the night away in this bed. So I'm just going to stand here and right click on it until the sun is low enough. Looks like the sun is just about to set, and hopefully, yep, there we go. Sweet dreams. We've made that advancement, and that means we can sleep in a bed. This resets the day counter for how long it's going to be before phantoms will start to come out and attack us. You will probably see phantoms later on in this series, but now I've not got really any armor. I've only got a shield. I don't want to worry about them right now. So we're gonna make sure we skip the night until we are ready to take those guys on. Now we've got a little bit more wood in our inventory here. We're going to turn some of that into sticks, and we are also going to make ourselves a couple of extra tools. I'll need some torches as well. So we'll make 1, 2, 3, 4 more sets of torches, giving us 20. That'll be useful for lighting some stuff up. And we're going to make a hoe, which is the tool I was talking about earlier that turns grass or dirt into farmland. Now, the stone hoe is going to do well for the moment. We can also make one out of wood, which has slightly less durability. You can also make one of iron, gold, or diamond if you want to, but sometimes it's best to just use the material that is most common. And as you can see, I have a lot of cobblestone right now, so probably worth doing that. Hoes, like other tools, have durability. So after you've hoed a certain amount of farmland, it is going to break on you and you will have to make another one, but you'll find you don't end up using hoes all that much. So a stone one usually suffices until much later in the game when you're making large-scale farms. Now, as you can see, every time I right-click on a block around here, it turns into farmland, and slowly but surely, the farmland starts to go darker, which means it's getting water, which means it's getting hydrated. And hydrated crops, as we plant them here using our right-click button, will grow faster than crops which don't have any water going to them. So you can actually hoe a piece of farmland anywhere you like and plant seeds in it, but if it's not close to water, those crops aren't going to grow nearly as fast. So it's actually worth planting stuff right next to water or moving the water sources around if you want stuff to grow, because sooner or later that dirt is going to dry out, and while the seeds will still grow, it won't be quite as fast. So there we go, we have planted our first wheat farm, and I'm also going to take down this remainder of this birch tree over here, because I did see a few people in the comments of the last episode saying that if I didn't take down the rest of that birch tree, there was going to be trouble. You'll notice that the leaves for these trees don't despawn until you've taken out all the wood that forms the trunk in the center of the tree. So the leaves will only start to disappear once you've removed all the wood, and a lot of people don't like leaving floating trees there because obviously it looks kind of unnatural, it looks a little bit ugly, and even though the Minecraft world doesn't look particularly natural in itself, sometimes we just like to make things look a little bit more natural than they are. I might even use these shears, now that I've made them, to break down some of these leaves, and you can actually collect leaves that way for decoration, and we might use some of these to decorate our house later, but you just do that by left-clicking on them the way you would mine out other materials with a pickaxe or an axe or anything like that. It's not like with the sheep when you right-click on them to get the wool, you left-click on leaves to get them with shears. Likewise, over here, it seems like the leaves of an oak tree have generated a little bit too close to the trunk of this birch tree, and so they haven't disappeared yet either. So I'm going to grab some of these because they're just sticking out from the side of that tree, which looks a little bit unbalanced. There we go. That's nice and tidied up. We've got our wheat farm growing, and there's one way you can actually artificially increase how fast stuff grows. I've got a bone here from a skeleton that burned up in the morning when the sun came up, and I'm going to turn that into bone meal by placing it in my crafting interface here, and it gets 3 bone meal for 1 bone. Now, bone meal acts as a fertilizer, which essentially allows you to artificially increase the size of your crops, and like so, you'll find that within a few clicks, it has turned into a fully mature bunch of wheat, which we can harvest by left-clicking on it, and that drops a couple more seeds so that we can replant those, and it even gives you more than 1 seed, so you can kind of increase the size of your farm, and it also drops 1 bundle of wheat. Now, wheat in a single bundle does not really allow you to do a whole bunch. You can feed it to something, but then you've lost your wheat. If you have 3 wheats, you can make a loaf of bread, but we don't have 3 yet. We've got to wait for the rest of this to grow before that. The one thing a single bunch of wheat will do is allow you to herd animals around, because animals will follow you. Most of them will. Anyway, the farm animals, things like sheep and cows, animals will follow you around, which means you can lure them into an area that you've set up as an animal pen, and you can keep them there. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to make some oak fences. We're going to start off by making a few of these. So I think we'll need a few more sticks for that, of course, and I reckon we'll probably need maybe 20 or so oak fences. I think there might be the need for a few more than that, but we will see. So 15 is a good start. I'll actually break down this birch into sticks as well so that we can make all of that into fences if we can. There we go. Let's make 21. I think that sounds like a good number. We're also going to make a fence gate, an oak fence gate like so, and that's going to allow us to get in and out of the fenced off area, because fences actually work a little bit differently to some other blocks in Minecraft. We're going to make a little fenced off area on the side of our house like so, and we are going to be remodeling the house at some point, but I'm not too worried about that right now. It's got function, and that is really what we need. So we're going to pull this out a little bit further like so. We're going to get even more wheat seeds as well from the grass around here, which is great. We will need those later. And then I think if we bring it in about here, we should have enough fences to make a complete paddock. Perfect. We've got 1 fence left. We can pop our fence gate down here in there. And I think I might put some torches around the perimeter as well, because you can place torches on the top of fences like this, and it's going to help to have our sheep farm over here lit up, because that's what we're going to make over here. We're going to put a sheep farm together. We might even bring some cows in here as well if we can, because cows are also a great source of both food and leather. Let's hop up here and see if any of our sheep are still around. Some of them might even have regenerated their wool. There's one. And once an animal spots that you have wheat in your hand, a lot of the time, it will start following you very excitedly, like so. So we're going to try and lure this sheep down into our paddock over here. We're going to hop down the mountains, and sometimes they will just blindly follow you, regardless of whether or not they're dropping off of walls and things, but animals will still take full damage, so you have to be careful that they don't end up dying whilst you're trying to lure them back to the pen. There we go, and then we can take the wheat out of our hand. The sheep doesn't want to follow us anymore, so we can walk out of here and lock the gate behind it. And you'll notice that even the player cannot jump over these fences, so animals won't be able to escape either. Now, if you put a block behind here, then it's possible that the animal might be able to walk up onto the block, like so, and then walk over the top of the fence. So you want to avoid doing that if you possibly can. Ideally, fences need to be built on the flat kind of area like this, and in terms of having sheep around, it definitely helps if you've got some grass in there, because, as I said before, once you shear a sheep, they can only restore their wool if they've been able to eat some grass. So it'll be really useful to have grass blocks in there as well. Now let's see if there are any more sheep in the area. There do seem to be a couple of horses, which is quite nice. We might be able to get into taming some horses later on as well. There's another sheep down there. I'll check over here to make sure there are any more. Let's take a quick look. It doesn't seem like there are. So if there was another sheep over here, maybe they've wandered off. Maybe they've gone up the mountain. but this one should be able to follow us nice and easily. Very good. Sometimes you'll find these animals, they're a little bit tricky. They're a little finicky. Sometimes they don't always want to walk in the direction of you, and if you get a little bit too far away, they will sort of lose their focus on you. So you want to make sure you take these walks nice and gradually, maybe check behind you to make sure that the sheep is following you, and make sure that you run into the pen nice and quickly, because otherwise the sheep that's already in here will try and escape. But then, once again, you can take the wheat out of your hand, you can shear the sheep if you want to, and you can leave these two in the pen. And now we have 2 sheep. It's possible for us to breed these 2 once we have a little bit more wheat. So hopefully some of this will grow and we'll be able to breed the 2 sheep together, and we can start on both a wool farm and potentially a food farm if we want to, because sheep, as I said, drop mutton, and mutton is a decent source of food. Luckily, we haven't been running out of food too quickly, because we haven't been doing anything too intense like sprinting around or mining, because a lot of those activities will deplete your hunger gauge a little bit faster. So it's important to make sure that you've got enough food for what you want to do. If you're going on a long mining session, it's important to take a lot of food. Now you'll notice that this cow is following me as well. I'm going to try and lure this cow from up here, and it looks like the pigs are ignoring me, so I think it's probably safe to say that pigs aren't going to follow you if you're holding wheat. You do need to bring carrots or potatoes. That's something that it was worth checking in this episode. Didn't want to give you guys some wrong information. And of course, if you guys have any tips on how to play anything, how to play Minecraft, how to do some stuff in these survival worlds, then please feel free to leave them in the comments. I want this to be an atmosphere where people can share their favorite survival tips. So if you have anything that you want to share in the comments, please do, and I might even end up including them in a future episode of the show. Now, hopefully we should be able to get these cows back over here, and it's no problem to have these farm animals in the same pen together, so we'll probably just put these cows... Oh dear, see what I mean? If you get too far away from them, they tend to lose focus, and then you have to kind of dance around in front of them, poke them a couple of times, and see if they pay attention to you after that. But this cow is being stubborn. Maybe if I take the wheat out of my hand and then put it back in, there you go. Now you're paying attention, and the other one's lost interest. Oh dear. Well, maybe we'll have to do this one at a time, unless I can get this cow to look at me. The sun is going down, so we've got to make sure that we can get in and sleep the night away before the monsters start to come out. Good, this one's still following me. Okay, well, maybe we'll get this one into the pen, and then we'll worry about the other one in the morning. How about that? Right, now let's try and make sure we get the cow in here. Perfect, wonderful, good stuff. Obviously, you can't breed sheep and cows together, so we will need 2 cows if we want to breed them, but that's not going to be a problem. Right, it looks like the sun has set. We should be able to go inside and sleep for the night now. Fantastic stuff. So in the morning, we are going to do a couple of things. We are going to lure a couple of cows down, but we're also going to get a little bit more wood, because right now my inventory is getting very full of stuff, and I want to be able to put some of that stuff down in a place that we can at least see it organized and clear out our inventory for any other stuff we want to pick up. So we're going to build ourselves a chest. A chest is very useful, and you might even need one on day 1. I didn't need to build one in the last episode, but if you're gathering a lot of materials, you might find that you want to build a chest nice and quickly. For that, you will need 8 oak planks, and the chest is going to be in here. I might actually switch this to the items over here so that you can see the recipe for a chest in the recipe book. If you click on this, by the way, it will show or hide any of the stuff that you can not craft currently with the materials you've got, but the stuff you know the recipes for. So for example, now I know the recipe for a yellow bed, some yellow dye, and a white bed. I don't have that stuff in my inventory. So if you hide that, then it's only going to be able to show you the stuff that you can make right now, which includes a chest, which is basically the same recipe as a furnace, the kind of 8 blocks in a Minecraft circle in a square with a center left out, and it's made out of wood. We need to store all of our stuff in here. We need to pop all of this in here just so we can clear out the inventory, take a look at what we've got. Maybe we'll start cooking up the mutton in here. Oh, we have some more iron in here. Oh, fantastic. I'd forgotten about that from the last episode. Let's put some sticks in there to make sure this mutton cooks. And I think we'll leave the rotten flesh in there as well, because I don't really fancy eating that right now, do I? So let's take a look at what we've got here. Let's take stock. We have ourselves a decent amount of stone tools. We have some wheat growing over there. We would probably do well to lure a couple more cows over into our pen, and then hopefully we'll be able to start breeding them before this episode ends. I'm going to hop over here really quick and see if I can get this cow, because the more cows you start with, obviously, the more chance you have of breeding them up nice and quickly. So if you can get 4 or 5 cows to start off with, then you're usually going to do pretty well. Let's see if we can bring you, and if we can bring you across here, then maybe that other cow that wandered off will pay attention as well. Looks like we've got both of them. Very good. Okay, let's see if we can lure them back over to the pen, and that shouldn't be too much of a problem. Fantastic stuff. Now let's take down a little bit more wood here. We're going to need some more wood. We're always going to need some more wood, so it is good that these trees keep growing, and we can replant a couple of the saplings here as well, so that we know we're going to be seeing lots of trees right on our doorstep every single time we walk out here. Good stuff. Let's take down this last tree as well, and then we'll see if the wheat field has grown at all. And if it hasn't, then we can talk about some other stuff. Nope, it looks like we're not going to be able to breed anything just yet. Well, we'll check back in right before this episode ends and see if we can breed two animals together, because that's going to be very useful for us in the long term. Now, I'm going to put a couple of things up here in my inventory because I want to make a little bit of space for a new weapon. As you can see, we've got a little bit of iron in here, and you'll notice that I didn't make a sword in the last episode, and you might be wondering why. Now, the reason for that is because I think axes are actually a better weapon than swords at the start of the game, because if you look at the attack damage here, it's got 9 attack damage and a slower speed, but a sword only has 5 attack damage with a higher speed. So if you want to do quick damage to something, and you want to do a lot of damage, an axe is usually a good thing to have. Now, a sword gets better when you build it out of better quality materials. So if you're using iron right now, you'll notice it does 6 attack damage. If you make a diamond sword, it does 7 attack damage. And being able to attack faster means you can get more hits in, which usually means it's a little bit better. So I'm going to make myself an iron sword right now. And the iron sword has a few advantages over axes as well. For a start, an axe can only attack one thing at a time, whereas a sword has a kind of sweeping attack, which I can't really demonstrate right now unless I have something to attack. So I'll go over here and attack this squid. We may as well. The squids are basically harmless. They look a bit weird, but they're not really going to hurt anybody. But if, as you can see, when I attack this, there's a kind of swipe animation that appears at the bottom there, and that means you can attack stuff in a radius in front of you. So if you imagine like a small semicircle kind of thing in front of you, anything within that radius is going to get attacked. So if you're being attacked by multiple enemies, a sword will help you hold lots of them back at once. The other thing about swords is that they can be enchanted with a couple of spells later on, which allow you to acquire more loot from enemies as you kill them. So the amount of stuff you get from mobs, whether it's monsters or animals, will actually be increased if you have an enchantment called looting, which is only applied to swords. It can't be applied to axes or anything like that. There are a couple of other enchantments in the game that also only apply to swords. So a sword is usually worth having in the long term, but at the start of the game, I usually just use an axe to make sure that I've got all of the food and stuff I need. Now, this does leave us with 7 iron ingots, and I think we're going to be able to make some armor with these. So there are 4 different types of armor that you can make in the game, one of which is a helmet, like so, which needs 5 iron ingots. There is a chest plate, which actually needs another iron ingot there, so I can't make it right now, but we should be able to look at the recipe for it right there. Yes, there you go. You need 8 iron ingots for that, but we won't be able to make one of those right now because we've only got 7. Instead, we could try making some leggings, like so, which are 7 iron ingots in a kind of trousers shape, or you can make boots out of 4 iron ingots like that. So we're going to need a total of, I think, 24 iron ingots in order to make a full suit of armor for ourselves. But I think for now, I'm going to make some boots, because that will leave us with 3 iron ingots, and I'll get an advancement for that called Suit Up. And if I right-click on those in my inventory, or if I just shift-click them into the armor slot there, you'll notice that we now have +2 armor, and an armor gauge appears over the health meter to show us how much armor we've got right now. The remaining 3 iron ingots I'm going to turn into a bucket, and buckets are very, very useful. I would recommend having a bucket of water on you at the end of day 2, because that's going to be very useful for a couple of things, most notably later on if we end up encountering lava. It is definitely worth having water on you if lava is around, and I will explain why later, but lava is one of the most dangerous things in Minecraft. It can lead to you dying very, very quickly, and even losing some of your items if you die in lava, because they will all burn up. So having water around to pour over the lava and cool it down is usually a very good idea. So hopefully this has been a good look at what you need to do on the second day of your Minecraft world. We have ourselves a nice little farm set up here. We've got a bed where we can sleep the night. We have trees popping up all over the place, and we have a wheat field, which sadly has not grown another piece of wheat yet, and I don't have any more bone meal on me, so I won't be able to grow one of these just yet. But I will get into animal breeding in the next episode, where we're probably going to gear up and do a little bit more caving. We're going to go mining, gather some resources, and that kind of thing. And I hope you guys will join me for that. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. My name has been Pixlriffs. Please don't forget to leave a like on this episode if you enjoyed it, and share it with anybody you think is interested in learning to play Minecraft. I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.